Welcome to this webinar. It's the topic for today is next generation Ankit is here. It's all about Ankit Plus, and today our intention is to share with you this brilliant new message of Ankit Plus that we've been building and crafting for the last couple of years, and actually share with you exactly it is what Ankit Plus is all about, and to give you that level of insight. I've got with me today here in this webinar, I've got Stefan Swanepoel, he's the head of product development, and John Vermeulen as well. He's the product owner of Ankit Plus. I'm Dirk Jansen van Rensburg. I'm the managing director of our Pragma's Ankit Software Solutions business. There we go. So I'm just going to set the scene for this product. So many of you might have seen this picture where Ankit's asset management picture and software products that we offer can be broken down in this picture. At the core, we've got the intelligent asset register. Sorry, I'm just going to switch off my camera here, not to take away from the graphic. Sean, if we can maybe switch off your video as well. At the core, Ankit is an EAMS system, and it supports three core business processes: the intelligent asset register, the work management process, and the supplier and material management process. And that's really at the heart of the system, and really what we're going to talk about today. But this platform is also extended with three supporting platforms. First of all, Ankit Insights, which is a business intelligence platform. We've got Ankit Action, which is a rapid application platform that we use to build focused mobile applications that simplifies asset management processes. We've got Ankit Integrate that allows us to integrate this EAM system with any piece of software out there. And lastly, we've got Ankit Connect, which is our IoT capabilities, which allows us to connect to any physical asset out there. We're not going to touch on those four supporting platforms today. We're really going to focus on these three core business processes. That's really at the core of the system, and that's our EAM capability. And I want to stand still on that one little phrase there. Ankit remains our system of record for all asset and maintenance related transactions and information. Now, this is a very complex slide. I don't expect you to take all of this information in, but the research group Verdantics have actually done a lot of good work in trying to identify the asset management landscape, software landscape. And they've identified all these different technologies that is there. And as you can see with this suite of products that Ankit offers, we actually cover most of these bases. And we'll continue to play in this field and really focus on building, software for the asset management market, and allow ourselves to change our strategies to actually address this market. But today, and I don't know if you can see my cursor here, today we're really going to focus on the EAM parts. And as you can see in this graphic here, the EAM and the CMS functionalities, according to Verdantics, it's quite a mature market, and it's a market that is, it's got a lot of presence and prominence, and most of the people out there would recognize what the EAM system and the CMS would offer. And also CAFM, that's a system, computerized system for facilities management as well. And obviously with Ankit, we can actually address that need as well. In terms of Ankit Plus itself, it's been a long journey. We've been working on this product for more than 3 years. And I think when we started this journey, no one anticipated external factors like the COVID pandemic hitting us in the middle of that as well. So it's been a real challenge to, as this little picture tried to symbolize the journey where you had to take on such a large project of this nature with many technical uncertainties, and then obviously these external factors coming into play as well. But I'm very grateful for where we are today. And to a large extent, we've been able to steer, step away from any large obstacles, and we've been able to deliver mostly according to what we set out to do in the beginning. And these were the three core business objectives that we set ourselves when we started this project. First of all, we said this Ankit EAM must be a standalone system that can integrate then with any other EAM system if needed be, or with ERP systems. So big focus on the ability to integrate to other systems. Secondly, Ankit EAM must prove business profitability and value add through innovative design, really looking to make a step change in certain features in the way the system operates. And lastly, Ankit must be based on leading software technologies in order to deliver a step change in its value proposition. So all around the architectural change, really making a step change in that as well, so that this this architecture and the architectural stack that we're building the software on can actually last for a number of years and really take us forward in that sense as well. And we've been able to do that to a large extent. What has happened in the recent past, we've gone live then with the first version of Ankit Plus to our early adopters clients. I didn't get permission to share their names, so I'd rather not do that. But the first client that went live was in October 2021. And since then, the product has been used by hundreds of users on a daily basis. The performance and stability has mostly been good. We haven't found any real critical issues there. There's been no security concerns, no data corruption or large data corruption that couldn't be resolved. And on this platform, there's many different integrations and apps running very successfully. So all things considered, we've got a very successful launch of this product. I'm very excited now to open this product up to a larger group than just the early adopters clients that we identified at the time. Those of you that have been part of some of our webinars in the past would know that I like to actually bring in some research into the setting the scene part of the webinar, just to get us aligned with what's currently happening there out in the field and in the industry as a whole. And again, I'm going to lean on the Verdantix research group and share this piece of research with you. So they went out and tried to identify what is the key evaluation criteria for people that's wanting to buy industrial asset management software. And it was quite interesting that top of the list by quite a large margin was the software's ability, or its architectural ability to integrate with other pieces of software, business software and also industrial software as well. In terms of our product that we're going to talk about today, Ankit Plus, you'll notice, and Stefan is going to elaborate on that, it's API first approach. So I certainly believe that we've obviously keep that close in mind when we designed and built this product. So it certainly addresses that first evaluation criteria quite well. The third one, which I found to be very interesting, is the ability to build new apps using low-code capabilities. Now, those that knows the Ankit product suite quite well knows that we have been addressing that through our Ankit action capabilities. But within Ankit Plus itself, we've also gone about building many features and capabilities to unlock exactly that, the ability for people to configure their own apps and own screens. And Joan, in his demonstration, he's going to unpack that a bit more. So look out for some of those keys there in terms of screen designer and conditional validations when he goes to that level of detail. The next one, which I also found quite interesting, a very important factor, is the breadth of the application available on a single platform. In Ankit Plus, you'll notice, and Stefan is going to talk about that, the amount of transactions that we are actually able to cover within Ankit Plus is incredibly wide, which will allow clients of ours to actually use a single platform to record all their different asset management related transactions in this one single platform. And lastly, which is I found that very interesting, that only 7% of the respondents of this piece of research said that the quality of the user interface is very important. Intuitively, I would have thought that would have been much higher, but then you can at least see that 50% said it is, or then 57% said it's very important or important. And we've obviously spent a lot of time, reworking and implementing this brand new, fresh, responsive user interface. So when we get to the demonstrations, I hope you guys enjoy what you're seeing there, and certainly looking at the new designs that we're going to introduce into the product in the months to come as exactly that, a new high-quality user interface that the users out there will enjoy. In terms of these other aspects, it's also important from an evaluation point of view. Again, with the whole suite of products, we are actually able to cover many other parts of these aspects as well, which is not the intent of this webinar today. We're not going to touch on that. We really just want to zoom in and focus on Ankit Plus. So I think that's enough from my side. I hope I set the scene for what you're about to see. Stefan is going to really give us a wide overview of what Ankit Plus is all about and touch on a bit of architectural matters as well. And then Joan is really going to go into a detailed demonstration, which you're really going to have to put your thinking caps on and really remain focused, because it is going to be detailed, but I think that's what this audience wants to see today. So enjoy that, and over to you, Stefan.
What we want to do in this part is just briefly talk about, Ankit Plus architecturally in a broad sense, what's included in the product, just to give everybody a bit of an overview there. So, if we look at Ankit Plus and the whole bigger EAM picture, there's a lot of moving parts in there. And as Dirk mentioned, the aim of the product is to serve as a system of record for the bulk of your asset management transactions and master data that's relevant to the system. So we quickly go through each of them. I think all of us realize what the asset register is about. OnKey as a complete asset register with lots of fields and information related to assets that you can capture there as a system of record with good configuration control functionality and everything around that. At the back of the asset register, this is the area where we believe the product distinguishes itself from many other similar tools. We've got a very strong capability of defining asset types, asset classes, as some others might call it, in where you can define basically templates for your assets, and have various derivatives thereof and build it out into the finest grain with spares and maintenance plans, etc., on a type level that you then link to the assets and roll out that information in a very elegant way, saving a lot of maintenance time of the data and making sure that the actual assets in the field and the maintenance plans linked to them is always up to date with the latest standard plans defined on your asset type. The asset operations functional group within OnKey Plus relates to the operations of your asset, as it says, meters, the running downtime of assets, etc. The asset health component is looking at condition monitoring aspects of your assets, monitoring points that you can track time-stamped analog measurement values, alarms associated with those to trip and initiate automatic work orders. Financial aspects quite important as well for many clients, where you would define your budgets and your financial years, cost centers, GL codes, all those type of things that's necessary to, as the work orders gets executed and cost is expensed, that you can slice and dice it in terms of seeing where cost has been accumulated on different assets. So very important, obviously, as far as the asset lifecycle cost considerations are concerned as well. Then strong capability for maintenance plans, as I already mentioned. This is closely linked to the asset type and asset register, where you can really do fine-grained asset task development, link the spares, the resources required for the different trades. All those bits goes into the maintenance plan section. Maintenance resources, we've grouped this now as a combined group of human and special resources that you can define to do the maintenance work. So that goes in that section. Materials, work that needs to be executed, always have spare parts available and associated with them, linked to the tasks. So the materials management section of OnKey Plus allows for you to set up your warehouses, your material master, your stock items, the levels, etc. Work management, obviously at the heart of your maintenance management execution. Proposed work order generation for future preventive maintenance work, reactive work. And there's been quite a few announcements that Johan will also touch on in the work management area and how we forecast work into the future. Under the business intelligence area lies your traditional reporting that goes out with notifications or on an ad hoc basis. Also linked in there as optional is to link into our insights capability, where you've got more slice and dice drill down BI capabilities, and also quite a strong custom query building capability within OnKey Plus itself, where you can define different queries to fetch data from the OnKey database. Then the system also has quite a strong system management API at the back, to automate and to integrate with how you set up different parts of the system. It's got its own user interface as well for the system administrators. And lastly, on the user management, setting up users, their roles, their rights, linking them to identity providers, etc. Maybe just to give an idea about the breadth of the system, if we just look at something like the asset health, this is at this stage, one of the smaller modules, lots of entities involved with that. If you look at the entire OnKey Plus system, there's over 300 such entities, involved in the overall system. So quite a big and broad system of record for asset management. Then I want to move over to the architecture side, and I think as Dirk mentioned, more and more clients value and regard open, scalable architecture as important, and we've also tried to address this in the design of the product. So, in its most simplistic installation, and I must be careful with what I say now. I know our architect is here in the meeting as well. You can install Ankit Plus on a single server in a very simplistic way, where you've got one database, one application server, the reporting capabilities, and then the Ankit EAM client, which is the site that your end user would use in their browser. And then, very important in this picture as well is the application programming interface, where, even our own user interface client works through that API. And that gives us the ability to tie in and other systems to integrate with Ankit, to really fit well into our overall enterprise architecture. The system at this stage runs in a Linux operating system, but we will also in future be, making it available in a Windows operating system. So this is the very bare bones basic setup that you can install. The moment that you want to, move to be the larger clients that it's sensitive for system performance with large workloads, the system allows you to, scale in various ways to cater for bigger volumes of data and transactions. So, here in this world, you can start to, install multiple application servers that the work is scheduled to via the load balancer. So that carries the, transactional workload. Same in terms of the database. Instead of just having one single database, you can have synchronous read-write database with asynchronous databases from where you can do reporting and other long-running queries. The system also allows, in terms of the reporting capability, if you've got large reporting workloads, you can extend that by having an additional report servers that carries the report generation load. So really very scalable and flexible in terms of making provision for large workloads. And then lastly, if we quickly go through the other systems just to complete the picture, Dirk briefly mentioned it at the beginning. There's another couple of other Ankit systems that plugs into this, also all through the API. Ankit Action, through which we make the offline mobile capabilities available, and then various other apps that supplement the Ankit functionality. Ankit Integrate is the tool that we use if we are required to build middleware integrations for clients. We use that. Ankit Connect is the IoT solution, to feed data in directly from assets into the monitoring points and various other measurement areas in the system. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, the Ankit Insights, where we have the BI apps, for slicing and dicing, drill down analysis of data. And then lastly, on top of the API, clients have various options then to integrate third-party systems into the overall architecture. Yeah, so this just being a brief overview of, there's lots more details and other components behind this, but a brief overview of how the system architecture looks and how it supports scalability. Right, and I think at this point, just quickly, security also being very important. We've gone through lots of efforts to make sure the system is secure, third-party guys that actually verifies the system for us in terms of the design and the hosting capabilities. And that looks at various vulnerabilities, your OWASP 10, top 10 lists. In terms of integrating with identity providers, there's already a large number of such identity providers that the system can work with. And in terms of access control, as with the previous products, Ankit 5, Ankit Plus takes this to the next level in terms of role-based access control through our hierarchical permission tree that now even allows you to have, column-based access control. So very advanced in that perspective. Right. So yeah, I think that's as much as I wanted to share. Last bit here, quickly, just in terms of information and support that we make available. There's already quite a large set of online training available for Ankit Plus. Extensive online help file, lots of information as part of the system in terms of how the data mapping between Ankit 5, the previous product, and Ankit Plus looks for guys that need to do report development, for instance. As we move on through versions of Ankit Plus, there's extensive change logs for the database schema changes and API changes. Lots of detail around the API in terms of how it's constructed and if you need to integrate with it. And then lastly, what we also offer is, application management service for clients that's got large installations and don't want to have all the application support, on their own side, we can also assist with that. Right, and with that, I'm going to hand over to Johan, our product owner for Ankit Plus. That will take us through a demonstration of a couple of interesting and exciting functionality. Thanks, Johan.
Hi everybody, my name is Johan Vermeulen. I'm the product owner of Ankit Plus. Welcome to this webinar. I'm going to take you through a short half an hour journey of Ankit Plus. Before I start, I just want to tell you about some of the 9 key reasons why Ankit Plus is better than Ankit 5 and reasons to be excited about. The first reason, open architecture. We've got an API first approach. Anything you can do in Ankit frontend, you can do with the API. So it's not like an Ankit 5 where we had to write extra APIs for imports. Anything you can do on the front end in Ankit Plus, you can do via API and write interfaces for. The next thing is excellent security. So we got OAuth for access delegation, single sign-on, authentication provider integration, and we also do a penetration test after each release where we do a OWASP top vulnerability testing to make sure there's no security vulnerabilities. Scalability and performance. So we spend quite a lot of effort on ensuring that it can scale for bigger clients, multi-tenancy, and a lot of not just from the architecture point of view, but every single item we've designed, we've looked at performance. So things like synchronization, user rights recalculation, all those big processes run much quicker in Ankit Plus as well. Advanced features, so we've added some additional features, not just, although we focus a lot on feature parity, we've also added some more advanced features like conditions, and some predictive tasking where we just perpetually predict due tasks before proposed work generation. I'll show you that for you in the demo. Improved data quality. So we've got conditional validations, conditional defaults. So at source, you can basically start guiding people how to capture a work order or feedback. Industry 4.0 ready. We've spent a lot of effort on optimizing the whole monitoring side. I'll show a bit of it in the demo, but it's a whole subject by itself. We've enhanced that quite a lot. Mobile first is from the design point of view. We've made sure that all the screens work on a mobile device, and everything you see on Ankit Plus, you can work on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, a phone. It works on all those devices and multi-browser. Configurable user experience, I'll show that in the demo. That is where we talk about profiles and role-based configuration of menus, themes, screens. So a lot of effort went into that. Time to values. This is probably the one that we still need to work on the most. We've done quite a few steps in already where you can export profiles and import them. But obviously we need to just make sure that it's not just the front end that deploys quickly, but also the system itself from a support team that they can deploy it quickly in new environments. Okay, with that said, let's go into the demo. What I would like to do is set up an asset type of a pub unit with a few tasks on it, create 2 actual assets. I'm going to take you through conditions, which is new features we've added where you can tweak the frequency of tasks based on where the asset is housed. And I'll take you through proposed work orders, and then some new functionality we've added or improved. So, okay, so let's go to Ankit Plus. I'm going to open this one in Chrome. I'll jump through a few browsers to show that we can actually run Ankit Plus on different browsers, and also at the end run a bit on mobile. It's also mobile ready. So everything you see here you can also do on a mobile phone, and that's on iOS and Android. So let's go to the asset type tree. I've already set it up just to save time. Just going to explain you the setup. Okay, I've already set up the structure. So here's our pump unit. What I've done is put 2 components and a component placeholder. The component placeholder is linked to a library functional unit here. So this gearbox there, and the structure rolled out. And what I've also done is created 2 components, and there's 2 tasks there: check alignment, check vibration, 5,000 hour task, 1,000 hour task, and this is a calendar based task. Something we've added is that, say for instance you're quite deep in a tree and you want to create a new tab, you can just go open a new tab, and what it'll do is it will actually open a new tab and navigate you to that point in the tree. So it's quite a quick way to create new tabs and not lose your place. But let's go to the asset tree here. I've created 2 instances of the assets. That's kind of what I want to do here, 2 instances, because I want to just show conditions a bit later. And here they are, pump unit 5412 and 5487. And what I've done is just synchronize and accept development. Something we've added is, I'll just synchronize this one again, is on the assist panel you got a little background task icon here, so it shows you your active background tasks that run, so you don't have to navigate away to the background task and see if things are successful. You can also drill down in it and then obviously open it up and it'll actually take you to the background task if need be. Okay. Stuff we've added to task is some more state on it. We've got a is initialized state, we've got a is ready for scheduling state. And what basically is just to tell you that your task is not completely set up or it's not ready to be scheduled. In Anki 5, you only realize that when you ran proposed work orders, then the system told you that the task is not set up properly. But here we've set it up actually on the task itself, which means you can run dashboards and just identify all your tasks that are not ready to be scheduled. Basically would catch the problem at the source. Same with meters. On the meters themselves, we've also got a state. So, you know, why is this meter not healthy? In this current one, it says it's not being used by any tasks. So, you know, as you link it to tasks, those error codes would basically go away. So on your task and meters, we've kind of gave a state, you know, a healthy state of the task itself and the meter to just make sure that your configuration of those items are correct. What we've added to meters is predicted meter readings, and what that basically is, it's just a straight line prediction of your readings 1 year in the past or 1 year in the future, and that time period you can set in system options. You can make it 3 years in the past, 3 years in the future. The intent behind that is obviously the first one is to use this for scheduling purposes, but also that in future you can replace this with your own prediction of the future. So if you perhaps have some machine learning on meter readings, and you can more accurately plug in predicted meter readings, and you can basically replace this straight line prediction with a more accurate prediction. So let's check this check vibration task. If I go to my state of this task, you can see there's no meter is selected, and quite a host of why I can't schedule it. Last scheduled service reading has no value, predicted meter reading is missing, and quite a few other ones. So let's just set up this task. On the scheduling, I'm going to link it to a meter, meter due on 1. Save, and on the dates and reading, it's wanting me to have a last scheduled readings. Let's say this one was last done 5,000, and let's now go and check is initialized. So that's cleared it. Check is ready for scheduling. That's cleared it. And now there's a new thing called generate due task. So what is this all about? So if you go to every task, you'll see that there is due task. So we continuously predict the due tasks for every task. So this gives you quite powerful information if you can draw reports on all your tasks and see their kind of year plan. It gets automatically generated. I've pressed the manual buttons now just to get the information here, but there's jobs that run in the background that does all this automatically. This then also gets used for proposed workload generation. The time it predicts out ahead, you can set in system options. It's currently set for a year, but a year and a month. but you can set it as far as you want in the future. Okay, so let's talk about conditions. So what conditions is about is a way that you can tweak the frequency of tasks based on the condition where the asset operates in. As an example, let's take ambient temperature. If it's above 25 degrees, you want to increase the frequency by 5%, but at a normal temperature, no adjustment, and a low temperature, you want to decrease the frequency by 8%. So let's do this one in Firefox. Quick way is you can just copy the URL and then paste it in. Okay, I've already got a few tabs open here in Firefox. So I've set up some conditions here. There's the ambient temperature. The normal 1 and 0 adjustment factor. Above 30 is -5%, so you want to decrease the frequency, and if it's very low, you can increase the frequency. I've set it up on my type side, so you can set it up on the type side and it syncs to the asset side. So if I look at this task, I go to conditions. You can see there's conditions. I also put a risk condition on there. You can sum the conditions basically, but you can only choose one per type. So if we go to my asset side, then you'll see that it's rolled out to all the tasks that's linked to that tasks. So if we go to conditions, it's also here, but none of them are active currently. And you'll see on scheduling, there's a first actual interval of 1,000 hours. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll go to the asset itself, and I'm going to define there which conditions are active. So we go to conditions. What I'm going to do is I'll say this is a high temperature item, so I'm going to make this a active condition. And what you'll see now is if I go to this vibration, it should have tweaked the first actual interval, so it reduced it to 950, and they would immediately have effect on your due task generation. So if I just run due tasks now, you'll see it's on the 23rd of the 3rd is the next one, and it's updated it to the 20th. So they want to up the actual interval by 10%, where the previous one decreased it by 5%. So if it sums up, it should then at the end of the day increase it by 5%. So let's see what happens here. We make this an active condition as well. So both of them are applying to these tasks. If I go to the task now, you'll see that the actual interval has increased to 1050. And yet again, if we go to due tasks, this should happen automatically, but I'm just going to force it through now. You'll see it went up to the 25th now. What we've also done is given an overview screen for conditions. So you can go to condition matrix, and then you see all the conditions underneath that asset. So it's only those two tasks that got conditions enabled. Also on the task, you can enable or disable conditions, so you can decide which tasks you want the adjustment factor to have effect on. This is also interactive, so you can tweak the adjustment factors right here if you want. You don't have to go to the tasks themselves. Some other improvements we've done on the asset tree is this little chevron. It only shows when there is something beneath it. In Anki 5, you had to, it still showed even if there's something beneath it. So now it's just showing properly when there is something beneath that tree or that branch. Also on the task, we've added an auto calculation of task duration. So if you go to the planning, you'll see you can select auto calculate, which means you don't have to press a manual button to update these durations. If you add additional resources, they get calculated by themselves. And then we've also added a dual scheduling mechanism. So basically you can have dual scheduling where you've got interval, usage-based or calendar-based, and whichever one comes first will then be due. Okay, so our tasks are ready to be proposed. So for this operation, I'm going to go to Edge and do the next operations there. So let's go to propose work order generation. I'm going to run propose work orders. Run for 60 days for that asset, and only for the calendar-based one, the one where you clean the pump 1 week interval. The normal split options and combination options are there. That's the same as on Q5. Yet we try and get feature parity as far as possible, and then just enhance the features where we can. This is the background task. You can go and view it in your widget if you want to. The progress, and there's all your proposed work orders. I can then base select them all and then say generate work orders. Okay, so they generated. We've enhanced this process quite a lot. So from a performance point of view, so generating proposed work orders and work orders is much quicker than in RQ5. Okay, so the next part I'm going to talk about is configurability. I'm still here on my Edge browser. The first part of configurability is probably the query builder, where you can get back data that you require. So you've got a whole list of work orders, and I can go to the query builder and I can say, okay, I only want to get work orders of the asset that I've just generated. So let's go to the asset code. And this is the visual one, so it gives you all the operators, and you say is equal to, and that one there. Okay, it gives me all the work orders I've just generated. You can save this as a profile, so you can go to profiles and save as my work order list, and you can make it public, private, public read only. You can utilize that in operational roles where you can basically manage all these profiles and set defaults for your users. You can also import and export profiles. So if you want to create standards, and you want to reuse it in other applications, then you can basically export those profiles. Nothing in the query builder. You've got the visual one, and then you've got the text editor one. So you can go to text view, and we've got predictive text here. So you can say, let's just rewrite this, work order. So you can see it's trying to help you there. Asset code. Equals that. I think let's put it in. Give you the same result. What we also have is if you want to add additional fields that you want to query on, you can go to the tree view, where you can, if you understand the data, you can quickly go and get the stuff you want. Or if you want to be in a more of exploratory mode, then you can basically drill down on a more visual way, and maybe you want to go to let's say the general ledger. Okay, so it's two ways of navigating through there. What we've also enhanced the filter criteria with is obviously, as I mentioned, you've got the visual one, you've got the text one. And the text part have got more power. You can here go and put not just ands but also ors in your query, and you can also do cross-referencing, which is quite powerful. As you know, in OnQ5, the query builder kind of just your data was just in one direction, but going with cross-references, you can basically go into any direction. Another item that you can configure is your edit screens. Somebody use as example the work order edit screens, but you can do it on any entity. You can tweak the work order update screen, or you can tweak the work order create screen. And basically you would go to a designer, and say you want to customize the work order create. And you've got quite a lot of power here. You can add, you can obviously change the UI itself. You can add headings, paragraphs, links, pictures. You can alter some of the user-defined fields. And you've got data properties as well. The data properties, you can define conditional defaults and conditional validations. So let's simplify this edit screen. Say I want to remove many of these tabs. I want to make it very simple. You can do that, and maybe I want to just add a field here. Let's say it's the work order work required field. Can add that. Can add maybe the type of work as well. And if I want to add a paragraph, I add it there, and I can tweak the paragraph here. I save this as a profile. Give an example of it. Conditional default. So let's load this one profile I've already done. Here on the section ID, the section code, I added a conditional default. What I basically said is if the asset code is B and the type of work is BRD, then the default section must be Muse. Okay, so that's type of stuff you can add. You can also add validations where you want to say that this field should be a certain value based on a condition, and then you must then define your own error codes. So there's quite a lot of power you have here. I've set up a few profiles. Let's go to work orders. So the normal create, as you can see, it's got all the fields, all the tabs. But if I run a more simple one, let's take this one here. See what I've entered here is just code description, asset code, site, permission, work required, type of work. I put a paragraph in here which says please enter the correct type of work. If it is a breakdown at night, choose BRD. So you can assist the person with some text here as well and save it as a profile. Let's create one with a conditional default. So we go here and go to the conditional default one. You'll see as soon as I type in that condition, so it was asset code B, and the work, the type of work is breakdown, then you'll see it entered the section code Muse by itself. Another thing you can tweak is the menu itself. As you can see, it's got all the menus. So if you maybe have people that only do work order feedback and you only want to create a very simple menu, then you can basically go to your menu designer. You can all use the current one and tweak it, or you can create a whole new menu. Let's start there. I right click and I say add menu folder, and you can just rename it my new folder, and then you can say add a menu item, position below, and you can say this my work orders, and you can say it's a screen that must open, and then you go to your work order screen. There we go. So that will launch to the work order dashboard. And that's how you can create menu items. You can also save it as a profile then, and then add it to operational role. So let's go back to the vanilla one. So if I go to work orders here, you'll see I'll see everything here, not just my work orders, but say I want to create a whole flow for a user. What I've done is I've added an operational role called simple, and in that operation role I've added that menu profile and a work order create profile, a more simple one. What I've done is I made it default. So if the user double clicks on those icons, he doesn't have to choose a profile, it will just open those profiles automatically. And what I'll do is I'll, on my user, link me to that operational role. make it my default one. See here I'm linked to a simple role. So if I go to my menu item, you'll see that I've only got that menu items there. If I open up that work order list and I press the create button, you'll see that I've only got that simple one that I've set up with the text there. As mentioned before, Ankit Plus is also available on mobile. So this is my mobile device that I'm mirroring. And as you can see, you can basically do anything you did on the desktop, you can do on the phone. This is an Android phone. It also works on iOS. If I go to my work order screen, this is still the vanilla one. Then basically, you can do anything that you did on the desktop. You can create a new one. It works quite quick, I must say. It works in many ways quite quicker on the mobile than it does on the desktop. If I go to that one where I set up the operational role, you can see that I've only got this 2 menu items. If I go to there, I see the list of work orders. And if I then open up a create screen, you'll see a very much more simplified one. So it's quite nice to build profiles that are just dedicated for smaller screens. And Ankit Plus can obviously do all those things for you. Another thing we've introduced is a notification module. In Ankit 5, notification triggers were hard-coded to a few entities. I think it was work orders, alarms, and 2 or 3 other ones. In Ankit Plus, it's generic, so you can actually have a data change trigger on anything in Ankit. I've set it up now for work orders. So if the work order status changes to approved, then I should get an email. So let's take one of the work orders. So I'm going to choose a work order here and I'm change it to approved status. So let's open it up. Get our assist panel going. Set work order status. Okay, now I should get an email soon. Can then go and look at our emails, and we would then receive an email, and you have just said new work order code assigned to you, and I've added some fields here, site description, required by work to be done, yeah. So the notification module works, and it's quite powerful. As mentioned, it actually works on anything in Ankit, so you can even, when a new user is created or a monitoring point triggers or something like that, you can send emails. I just want to touch on some other functionalities that we've improved. One of them are user rights recalculation. In Ankit 5, you had to manually calculate user rights. In Ankit Plus, it's automated. It's also significantly improved in performance. Some of our clients have got 3,000 users and many sites. The user rights calculation took up to an hour, and that now currently runs in minutes, well, within a minute. Another one we've modified a lot is the monitoring points. So in Ankit 5, we had your monitoring points. They were hard coded, and you can only evaluate one monitoring point at a time. So the bounds were hard coded, the 4 bounds. We've improved that quite significantly in Ankit Plus, where you can have evaluations and expressions that can evaluate multiple monitoring points. You can also have calculated monitoring points, and you can from there trigger alarms, work orders, and notifications. Another thing we've increased dramatically is the documentation. So if you go to your account here and you go to view more, you'll see that you'll hit all the release notes of your current version and previous versions. You'll also see all the API changes that happened and breaking changes. So if you have interfaces running, you can go and see if there's anything in the new version that has affected you. And you can also look at DB changes that has happened between the releases. What we also have is quite rich API documentation. So if you go to your URL and you put docs at the end, you'll see all the API documentation, and here you can basically look at all the APIs, gives you diagrams on how it looks like, and you can then go into the APIs themselves and with examples of the APIs. You can also, here on the database side, you can see how the data was converted from Anki 5 to Anki Plus. So quite rich documentation, and we've also got the help file. So if you go to Anki, you'll see here you can go and navigate to the help file, and all the content is there. Okay, that's what Anki Plus currently gives you. We've worked quite hard getting a lot of functionality in, and what's sweeping currently over the product is all the new designs that we have. We want to improve the UI. So here's some designs I'm going to show you. This is a floor plan design where you can interact and create floor plans and add assets on here and have, you know, interactive floor plan. We've got some geolocation work happening, designs that we want to introduce in the future when we have our geolocation implemented. Here's some Kanban boards that we want to introduce on work orders. This is work order timelines where you can see, you know, when work order starts and ends on a calendar. Some work order dashboards just to give better perspective about work orders. And here's another one. So these are all designs that we're currently busy with, and the designers are sitting with users and doing usability testing on them. And as soon as they're ready, we'll start introducing them into the product as well. And I think that is it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, John. I'll take over from here. I'm going to try and make up a bit of time so that we can finish on time. So the last bit that we quickly want to talk about is the reporting functionality within Anki Plus, and then briefly touch on the roadmap. So reporting, you know, has always been a very important part of any enterprise asset management system. And in the past, it's always been a challenge for end users to define the reports and manage the reports themselves. So what we've done with Anki Plus is we've partnered with a company that actually provides quite an extensive reporting capability built into the product for us. And some of the benefits and highlights that you get is, you know, you don't need any special tools to do this report development. It's a browser-based tool set that's integrated with the product. Users, report development, power users can actually get low-level access to all the tables in the database. So, you know, that gives the ability to write basically any report on any data that is in the Anki system quite easily. There's visual tool sets available with the report designer that allows you to create your own data sets. You don't need to necessarily do that with SQL queries. And then there's the visual part of the report design as well, where you can build the report layouts. The reporting currently is you know, available as ad hoc reports. It's also linked to the triggers and notifications that Johan mentioned earlier. So reports can be sent out through the Anki notification mechanism based on the trigger of any of the record changes. Report versioning was in the past a problem. So you can now in this new reporting tool actually keep track of previous versions of the reports if you need to revert back. And it, as one would expect, supplies and provides for full internationalizations. We already have clients that use the reporting with various East Asian languages, and you know, pretty much any language that you can think of. So I'm quickly going to talk through some of the functionality. Firstly, for you to use the reporting functionality, user needs to be enabled as a report user, assigned with the appropriate roles, and then set up with the preferences for language of the report user interface and the actual report languages. And you can see this happening here in the background. Depending on the role that's assigned to the user, here we can see we're assigning an administrator role. Such a user would then be able to actually, when they launch into the report server, actually go and design their own data sets and own reports. Other users would only be given view rights, and then they can actually just you know, select and view different reports that is organized into categories. Right, I'm going to skip to the next point. You know, there's always been in the past challenges for many of our clients that want to, you know, drill down and set up their own queries. Yeah, you can obviously do that within Anki itself, and Anki Plus also provides for quite an advanced custom queries. But through this reporting server, you can quite easily, in a visual way, put together your own data sets. As you can see here, busy putting a data set together between assets and asset types, join together on selected fields, and then you can specify which fields you want to see in this data set. You can give your own aliases to those data sets and to the fields in the data sets, and then make this data set available for other users that want to write reports using this particular data. As you could see on the left-hand side, the full Anki Plus database is available there, and you can drill down and select any of the you know, tables that you want to use in the report. You can also obviously write your own SQL queries, if you will. This data set capabilities allows for parameterization, calculated fields. You know, in this tool, you can preview the data, and then you can even here within the data set part of the tool, export data to Excel if you want to, you know, test data in Excel afterwards. I'm going to skip to the next part, not go through the full demonstration here, but I think you get the idea. The next part is then just to illustrate the report design capability, the visual report. So here you would now create a new report. This is also browser-based, as you can see. You would select a data set that was predefined, such as the data set that we were just looking at, or you could here in this place come and design a data set specifically for this report. Here I just drag the data set onto the screen, onto the canvas, and you know, then through the parameters, you know, different parameters on the controls, you can specify how the report layout should look. This is obviously not just a very basic report layout, but it will give you an idea about, you know, the type of capabilities that you've got. Obviously, you know, as you can see on the left there, capabilities for charts and you know, other visualizations also possible. I'm just not going into that level of detail here. So once you've designed the report and set some of the parameters, you would be able to, as we will see shortly now, you can preview it here. And then, you know, if you have previewed it, you can save it, categorize it, you know, into different groups of the report server. And yeah, even export it to various other file formats such as Excel, Word, PDF, etc. There's a bunch of them. Right, I'll just give it a second to show the export. There's the export selection, and then there's a whole bunch of different export types that you can choose. And this will then export the data for you to Excel format. So I think this gives you an idea, quite a powerful report capability then linked to Anki Plus. And there's a couple of exciting new features that we will, you know, in future add, that while you're on a record can associate certain reports with that record, so that you don't need to even navigate to it to get to it. Right, last point here is just around the reports, standard report shipped with Anki. We're continuously extending and improving on the data, you know, and the reports that's available with Anki Plus, but there's already quite a you know, number of standard reports that we have available. As the database in Anki Plus extends, you know, more of these reports will become available. These can then be used as is, or if you need to modify the designs of the reports to fit in with your specific needs, you can make a copy and then edit that further, as you can see happening here in this particular view. Right, so I think that's that for the report side of things. Just want to quickly skip to the roadmap. Yeah, so just a statement. I mean, when we share the roadmap, I think the near future is in sharp focus, and we know what we're going to be delivering on. But you know, as soon as we look into the deeper future with you know, what we plan to do, there's still some uncertainty in terms of timing and scope to give access to. So just very quickly, in terms of where we're now, version 2021.3.0 has been released in Q1 of 2022. There's a service pack release planned for later this quarter. And then towards the end of Q2, we will have the 4.0 release that covers a couple of other modules and functionality, finance management, you know, extension of functionality around budgets, requisitioning, work order costing, basics of document management, a bit of visual work management, further enhancements to the user interface, insights integration, and material management. And then in the deeper future, OEE capabilities and further advancements to document management. It's also work on the mobile work management side of the world. We already have an integration with a basic app in that sense, but that will be enhanced in future to work with document management. And then lastly, the material management capability of Anki, of the Anki suite. We're still busy developing that, so there will be a standalone version aimed for here somewhere in Q2. And then that will be towards the end of Q2, we will make a more extensive capability available in that regard as well. So that was now very briefly the roadmap. If there's any questions, we'll gladly answer that, through email afterwards.
So thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, and I hope you share the excitement that we all certainly have for Anki Plus. And we're convinced that this is going to be a massive step change in the way we support our clients in the way they do asset management. So thank you very much. We had a couple of questions, I think, that came in through the Q&A, but I think we were able to answer and fill all of those as they came in. I don't know if there was anything specific that anyone wants to quickly drop in the Q&A that they want us to answer here live. I'm not seeing any other open questions. Charlene, I don't know if you saw something that I perhaps missed.
Hi there, thank you. I think we answered everything, and we've got a few chats coming in, but we'll answer them directly.
Obviously, anyone is very welcome to reach out to any one of myself, Stefan or Jean, or any Pragma representative that you might have, and then they'll get in touch with us, and we'll share then any further information via email. We're also just finalizing a very comprehensive Anki Plus brochure that we should be able to distribute before the end of February to anyone that wants more information. Pretty much cover the topics that we discussed today, but in a lot more detail and in a written format, so you can actually read through those and use that to educate yourself in terms of the product. So thank you very much. Yeah, and looking forward to seeing you again in one of the future webinars that Pragma presents.